you seen this one?
Philip Ventura, the project coordinator of Omo Wildlife Sanctuary of the African Nature Investors Foundation, is also coordinating the Itassin Community Wildlife Sanctuary project. A Belgian who has been in the country for around 4 decades got interested in conservation work after he heard of the 2018 event when elephants crossed the Lagos-Ore-Benin Expressway.
Elephants are supposed to have their own area where they are safe, but people are just going inside the forest, cutting down trees, starting, I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes, Indian hemp. People are doing bad things to this nature all the time. And yeah, the elephants, they feel threatened, they feel bad. I mean, another reason why is it that all of a sudden these elephants from Omo went back to Itassin where they had left more than 60 years ago? Well, there's a lot of mining. There's a quarry on the north of Omo that was so loud. It's a granite quarry. With all the explosions, elephants feel it. And that's also one of the reasons why they started leaving and they went down south.
In the genes of Itassin appears not to have learned from the sad event which happened in Baoku in 2018. They still pursue the elephant with their mobile devices.
Will help the locals that are there and make sure that they can live happily without disturbing. You see, humans can live with wildlife together. They can live like hand in hand, and there won't be any problem.
A herd of hundreds of elephants returned to northeast Nigeria, where it is at risk from Boko Haram jihadists and in conflict with villagers who are trying to sow their crops. The Elephant Protection Initiative says the elephants, thought to number about 250, initially appeared in northeast Nigeria in December 2019, before returning to neighboring Cameroon and Chad a few months later. It was the first sighting of elephants in northeast Nigeria since the Boko Haram insurgency began a decade ago. Elephants once ranged from the tropical swamps and rainforests of the south of Nigeria to the savannah in the north. But a combination of poaching, human-elephant conflict, and deforestation from logging for timber and expanding agriculture have diminished these populations.
I am of the view that in many of the places where human-wildlife conflict has escalated, it is really a result of poor land use planning, people moving into areas where they can hardly grow enough crop for themselves. But in these rangelands, elephants thrive, other wildlife species thrive, and therefore our governments have an important role to ensure that our wildlife is not left without places where they can exist.
The Wildlife Conservation Society is one organization working to protect the savanna elephants in the north. In October 2019, it fitted 6 elephants in Yankari National Park, a large wildlife park located in the south-central part of Bauchi State, in northeastern Nigeria. And this has brought some cheering news over time.
I wouldn't argue there was a decline before WCS took over. Before we took over, we believe an average of 20 elephants were killed annually by poachers based on data and words of mouth. The trend has changed since WCS took over in 2014. The rate of elephant poaching had gone down. Unfortunately, the population was down already before we took over. And for species like elephant, it takes a lot of time to get a population bounce. The good news is we have put satellite collars in 2013. We've put satellite collars on elephants in 2014, and we did an amazing job with a plane to put more satellite collars in 2019. These collars help us to track the elephants in real time, to provide close protection, better management, and it also helps to reduce the tension of crop raiding since we are able to see where the elephants are on the computer, it's easy for me to send ranger teams to that location and stop the elephants from going out to destroy crops and wildlife. Yes, the population was low before we took over, but the population is bouncing back.
The African Elephant Action Plan was adopted in 2010 at the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to CITES, and it was developed over 2 years through a consultative process. The plan is fully owned and managed by the African Elephant Range States and outlines the actions that must be taken in order to effectively conserve elephants in Africa across their range. It is not intended to be an exhaustive analysis of the status of elephant populations and their conservation across Africa, but rather a concise and clear statement of those activities which must be implemented and most urgently require funding if Africa's elephants throughout their range are to be protected from the multiple and serious threats they face.
We know there is a small population in Yankari. We know there is another small population in Omo. I think those elephants should be declared as important national assets and given presidential protection. And then Nigeria needs to get serious about cleaning up the ivory market. And more than that, as an important member of the international community, to be a strong voice for Africa as the global community discusses elephant conservation to ensure that, because when you conserve elephants, you conserve everything else, that the priorities of funding organizations become so important to the rest of Africa that elephants can face a common future of sustainability.
A new research shows that forest elephant extinction would exacerbate climate change, so their extinction may be harmful to man. The study by the ecologist Fabio Bezzaghi and his colleagues links feeding by elephants with an increase in the amount of carbon that forests are able to store.
Because in tropical forests there's a lot of competition between plants for light, water, nutrients. Because elephants reduce the amount of plants in the forest, then there's less competition and there's more nutrients, more water, more light for the remaining trees that can grow and store a lot of carbon. That our research has shown that this effect can improve the carbon stored in tropical forests in Africa between 10 and 15%. This is a huge amount considering how large these tropical forests are. And a bit this happens also because in tropical forest you have different many different species, but you have two main type of trees. There's trees that grow really fast but don't store a lot of carbon, and there's trees that grow really slow but they invest a lot in making themselves more resistant to drought. They can survive with less light, and when they grow they become very large and they tend to store a lot of carbon. So this effect of elephants tends to help these kind of slow growing trees that then can transfer a lot of CO2 from the atmosphere and transfer into their trunk.
By promoting these larger woodier trees, elephant feeding disturbances therefore mean the forest stores more carbon. These results have important and far-reaching implications for elephant conservation and carbon policy.
Elephants in general, yes, they can push down some smaller trees, but they cannot do anything to very large trees. Those very large trees remain. So when you have a mature forest with adult large trees, elephants don't really do much to those trees. Even if there's a lot of them, maybe the biggest trees that elephants push down in forests is about 10 centimeters in diameter. It's not that large, but what they do is that they make the understory, so all the smaller plants, they reduce the number of those plants. It's like in forest plantations, right? When you see those plantations where all trees are nicely lined up, there's not many plants in the understory, not many small plants. Why? Because forest managers, foresters, they want to maximize wood production. So they don't plant too many trees. They plant the right amount of trees so each tree can grow as much as possible. And this is a similar thing that forest elephants do in tropical forest.
During our trip seeing through Omo Forest, we found only elephant footprints and dungs. Emmanuel told me that once upon a time, when the rangers started their work, finding footprints of hunters in the reserve didn't require much searching. We didn't see bullet cartridges, wire snares, or human footprints. Only animal trails. This is a good news.
It's not an hopeless situation. I believe we get there. Every single effort counts. We are on the field. We are trying to do our own best. The government too, they are trying to address this issue, and so other stakeholders too. So if we can have a common understanding and we try to fashion out a definite way to go about it, I think we have the desired results.
For now, the conservation efforts in the area need a lot of work to achieve the set goals. Compounding the issue is that communities that surround Omo are allegedly refusing to concede ownership of parts of the reserve to the government. There are reports that traditional authorities are also leasing areas to visiting cocoa merchants and loggers from other parts of Nigeria, who comprise more than 90% of the overall farming population in the area. For city businesses, wildlife may not be their first concern, but environmentalists say preserving the jungle and keeping elephants safe may just be what a flood-hit Lagos needs. Forests, we know, are the lungs of the earth. Without them, the heat will be unbearable, while keeping them safe is not just good for the elephants, but for all of us. I'm Ayoola KASSIM, asking you to join us next week for another episode of the program. Should you have any comments or questions, please email us. earthfile@channelstv.com is our address. You may also view this episode or other episodes of the program by visiting channelstv.com or youtube.com/channelsweb. Do click the playlist menu and then click Earthfile. From all of us here in Lagos, it's bye for now.